every time I met John Jones, I was very impressed. I remember teaching a seminar, and he was part of it. It was a MMA seminar. I was teaching the jiu-jitsu part of it. He was teaching what he does, and physically, he's a truly impressive specimen. Hyper flexible. He really uses his reach well. He's a very, very impressive fellow. And the fact that, again, check out the longevity in his career.
That's so impressive.
It's incredible.
He's been fighting forever, and he's still
so
looking dominant
impressive.
too. His last couple fights at heavyweight, he looks so impressive.
Yeah.
Everyone trying to say he's scared of that up and comer who's amazing, but he's not scared. He just wants to get paid.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, he's he realizes he doesn't have that many fights left. He wants to be compensated, and if anyone deserves to be compensated, it's that guy.
Yeah, he's been on top.
He's been carrying the flag of the UFC for so long, and so many people say, his last fight, he didn't look that dominant. Well, interesting when we go back to those three all-time greats, they share another commonality insofar as there's at least one fight in their career where everyone believes that they lost. Like George often gets criticized when he fought Hendricks. You say, Hendricks won that fight. Khabib is often criticized when he fought the tough Brazilian kid.
I know what you're talking about. I can't think of the name.
It was very close, and you could argue that the other guy won. John had a tough fight, and he's had a couple of fights where the decision was very, very close. And, there's always going to be this. There's always going to be, he lost that fight. But these guys were established champions. To take them out of their reign, you got to come in and do something very dominant. And but John Jones, man, what amazing longevity. What an amazing athlete. And it's a privilege just to still be watching him now. And after all these years and still doing so well.
Yeah, a lot of people don't like him for some reason, but I don't really know him that well. But ran into him recently, he went way out of his way, walk over, say hi, extremely friendly.
He's always been
very good to me.
Yeah. I've never had a bad experience with him. He's, I'm not going to say I know him, but he's always seemed like a gentleman to me. I remember one time it was funny. He was getting ready to fight Rashad Evans, and it's fight week. I was there, and I was working with one of my athletes, and he comes up to me and goes, Hey, John, can you show me how to do an armbar? And I'm like, yeah, of course. So I show him how to do an armbar from guard position. Now, John's a wrestler. I think there's very few times he's been taken down in his career, and the amount of time he spent working from bottom position has been very, very low. So the fight with Rashad Evans was a pretty emotional fight for those guys because they were good friends for a long time. And then,
that's right. I forgot about that.
It got pretty heated between them, and that wasn't fake. They
wasn't fake.
Yeah, they definitely had some issues. So he's going, okay, show me how to do that, and I'm showing it now. John Jones is one of the most impressive, athletically gifted human beings you'll ever work out with, and within a very short time, he's doing pretty well with the armbar from guard. And he goes to me, I'm going to win the fight with this move. Now, it's Tuesday night. The fight's on Saturday. I'm like, John, that's not a good idea. I go new moves, you need time to incorporate them. They have to be brought into your repertoire. It's not smart just to go out there and do the move. And he's like, no, I'm going to win the fight with this. I'm like, no, I think that's a bad idea. So I see Mr. Jackson is in the room. I walk up and I go, Greg, John asked me to show him how to do an armbar from guard, and now he's saying he's going to win the fight with it. You better have a word to him. And he's like, oh, fuck. So
good luck convincing him.
So he comes over and he's like, armbars are great. They're awesome moves. Love them. But don't really want to be fighting this fight on your back. And John's like, no, it's not going to be an issue. I'm just going to pull guard.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm like, John, you've never pulled guard in your life in a fight. This is not the fight to be doing this. And he's like, absolutely, I'm going to do it. And I remember watching the fight, just terrified that he was going to come out and pull close guard of all things. And I'm watching the fight, and I think it was either the end of round 1 or round 2, but at some point he did jump close guard. Thank God there was only like 5 seconds left in the match, but he jumped guard and he didn't go to the armbar, so it didn't come out. But there was a period where he actually jumped close guard, I think, on an opponent in an MMA fight. But that was John. He didn't give a fuck.
He's a lunatic.
But that kind of self-belief, it's impressive.
Oh, it's impressive. And Gordon said his ability to adapt and change is like really impressive.
Yeah, I remember Gordon texting me the first night. Yeah, he said exactly that. He said, "Man, I can see why this guy's a champion." He goes, like, I show him something and he's on it, and then he can improvise off of it. He says he's not just following the rules. I'll show him something, he's improvising off that. He said he's a very, very creative person. George was also very impressed when he trained with him. But Gordon had nothing but good things to say about him. He's very, very impressed.
Yeah, as a coach, if you could show someone a move, I coach like part-time, if I show someone a move and they can take that move and add to it, improvise, that's when you're like, wow, this is great.
Yeah.
I have one kid I train who can just instantly show himself, and then he's doing it differently, but correct. Usually you want your students to do exactly how you tell them originally or in the beginning, but there's some guys who can take it and add to it. And you're like, wow, that's so great.
The goal of a really good coaching program is never to create robots. It's to create intuitive athletes who can improvise according to their own measure and logic. And so you never want to give students all the answers, and you never want to, as it were, program them or micromanage them. You want to introduce them to scenarios and get them thinking in terms of first principles, and ask them, what is the problem here? And then have them research a problem. And that's when they start figuring things out for themselves. People will remember a solution to a problem that they came up with 100 times better than any solution that you came up with. They'll forget 90% of what you show them, but they will remember every breakthrough that they made on their own accord. Those are the formative moments, and you have to guide students towards those formative moments. Your role as a coach is more to be a muse to your students, where you provoke them into thought and put them into scenarios and generate experiences where they can figure out solutions for themselves, even if it means pushing them in the right direction, but never just spoon feeding them. When you spoon feed them, when you're not there, you're not going to progress.
Yeah, and I think that's why I loved right away I clicked with your coaching style, because you were very precise when you're showing the moves, but you give a ton of freedom to do things differently. And you realize, like, I'm not going to move exactly how Gordon or Gary move. And you adjust. And I've seen you change things, how you do things yourself. You'll find a better way to do things. You don't get stuck on the dogma of this is how you do the move. Yeah. You'll find, I found a better way to do something.
Yeah. No, the minute you start thinking you've got all the answers, you're in trouble.
Things change.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's always a better way. And even if you look at my students, when the first students came out, they were known mostly as leg lockers in a world where not many people were effective leg lockers. But if you look at my students, all of them had there was a unity of purpose. They were leg lockers, but the way they expressed that was quite unique to each one of them. Gary was focused mostly on standing entries into leg locks. Eddie was more interested in bottom position entries into leg locks. Gordon was also bottom position, but he focused more on outside, Eddie more on inside. Nicky had a style more similar to his brother. So they worked, there was a unity insofar as they were engaged in the same project, but their individual expression was all very different. And that's a healthy thing. You don't want everyone just to be the same, or just to approach the problem with a kind of group think. You want everyone thinking independently.
Yeah, I see a lot of coaches that try to make all their guys do exactly what they do. They're like they're having some big guy pull guard when the coach is like a tall, long leg guy, and he's teaching them the same. And just like, oh, this is not good.
Yeah.
You have to adapt to your body type, what you are, and you were very good at that.
At the end of the day, remember, never lose track of the fact that it's a martial art. It's an artistic expression, form, and like any art form, it's highly individualistic, and you must always keep that in mind.
I think in the beginning, you want to give like the fundamentals. This is how you do things. But then as you get advanced, it's like the rules don't really necessarily follow. Like when we came up in Jitsu, remember, it was like never give your back, never do all this stuff, bring the choke to the choke side, all this stuff. A lot of the best guys are doing completely different now.
And a lot of the dogma those simple principles turned out historically to be quite incorrect.
We're doing it. A lot of us are doing the opposite of how we were taught now.
You got to ask yourself, like, how much research really went into those principles? And what you typically find is that they're taught because they were taught to someone else, and that person was taught by another person, and they just passed down. And at no point does anyone actually expose those principles to rigorous testing. But rigorous testing that's the great purveyor of truth. And without trial and error, you don't really know if it's correct. And you know, even worse is a situation where you have a move which is adequate, because then you'll keep it on because it's good enough, but it may not be optimal. Just because it works doesn't mean it's not a better alternative. And we get very complacent when things are working. We say, oh, it's working. Don't fix what's not broke. But if you're always looking for that new performance level, you got to test everything, even your most cherished principles.